Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Sir, can you hear me? Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay. So, yes, it is working fine. Okay. Thank you, Sarang sir, for connecting. Uh, Good morning, participants. For today's session, we have Professor Sarang Pandey. Professor Sarang Pandey is currently working as professor at Marwadi Education Foundation Group of Institution, Rajkot, Gujarat. Dr. Pandey has completed his graduation from Veer Mata Jijabai Technological Institute, Mumbai in 1999. He has completed his MTech in Production Engineering from IIT BHU in 2002 and PhD in Mechanical Engineering from IIT BHU in 2007. He is actively working in the area of 3D printing. Uh, this is a short profile about Professor Sarang Pandey. I will request Professor Sarang Pandey to kindly start today's session. Sarang sir.
Yes, Dr. Yogesh. In
Yes.
fact, my PowerPoint presentation has
Ah.
ended. So I'm right
Okay.
now
Yes.
going to share it again. Is it visible?
Yes. Yes. It is visible.
It is visible. Okay.
Since your entire screen is visible, so whatever you will do on screen, it is visible.
Okay.
Yeah,
Fine.
yeah.
So I should go in the presentation mode.
Yes, yes.
I'm new to the Microsoft Teams.
Yes,
We are generally using Zoom. So this is
yeah.
a bit different mode than Microsoft Teams. Anyways, much of
So
the
you can
similar.
minimize this my video, which is coming in bottom place.
Okay,
Yes,
fine.
yeah.
Okay.
Now it is
So
perfect.
thank you for my introduction, short introduction. In fact, I've been working in the field of additive manufacturing since 2002, starting from the very basic machine building activities which were performed for my PhD work. Later on, I diverted my research interest to the applications, and then to for catering to the applications, I felt the need that I should work on the materials. So right now I'm working on the materials. A lot of materials have been tested, verified, developed, and the testing procedures used are very much helpful for making it understand to the new researchers in this field. So I will be dealing these things, how I developed the interest in the field of materials. I will go through the demonstrations. Um, as Dr. Yogesh has told, I am a professor in mechanical engineering, and my basic interest is the things related to the mechanical engineering. In fact, through the presentations you might have seen, additive manufacturing uh, is the field of everyone. It is not that the mechanical engineers are going to work in it. Many a times you may see that electronics, electrical, computer, and material scientists are also working in it. So, a short about my institution where I'm working. I'm working at Marwadi Education Foundation group of institutions placed at Rajkot. It comes in Saurashtra region of Gujarat, which is in the western part. This institution, it is promoted by the Marwadi Shares and Finance Limited, which is one of the largest stockbroking companies in India. They have started the institutions, educational institutions in 2009 with the initial offerings like engineering, MC and MBA programs. Later on, architecture, pharmacy, physiotherapy were included in addition to these programs. Sciences as well as law were included over the period of time. Right now, we are having about 8 institutes offering UG, PG, and PhD level programs. One of our institution is NAC A+ accredited in 2016. We started Marwadi University offering all these 8 programs. Um, the programs, maybe the specializations within these programs are different. Around more than 40 programs are offered under these faculties. The current strength of student is more than 9,000 and the faculty count is around 550. The content for my presentation is as I have developed a research interest in the field of materials of additive manufacturing. I will show you various fields of researches in additive manufacturing in nutshell, so that you can find your own interest and develop expertise in that particular field. Then the material properties related to the material research, development of the fundamental concepts in the material research. Then how will you be selecting the material for the particular application? Once the material is selected, how you are going to process it on the additive manufacturing. These things I will take in nutshell. And then once these products are manufactured on the additive manufacturing, the ways of testing the parts manufactured. This is the content of my presentation for 1 hour or so. In between, I will keep you engaged with some of the questions asked. So, Dr. Yogesh, can you shoot the first question, question number 1? I just want to test the concept of the participants so that they are aware of the additive manufacturing techniques. Can you share the question number 1 for the poll?
Poll is not working, sir, because we are using a meeting board, but I will post your question.
Okay, fine. You can post it somewhere and get me the results.
Yes.
Okay, fine. Then I will continue with my presentation.
Yes.
As such, to do the research, you have to make a research group. The research group will be having interaction with different stakeholders within the community, within the institution, within outside the institution, like with the industries. To develop such a research group, it should cater various aspects to deliver the outcomes to the society. So, to carry out research, one will require facilities in terms of the space, equipment, the supporting hardware, software, and the trained personnel to handle those equipment. For that, to do the research, the main thing is that nothing can be achieved without money, these things. So some sponsoring agencies like the industries, the sponsored projects can be taken up, which can be society driven or government organization sponsored or NGO sponsored projects can be taken. The training of the personnel which are going to get involved in terms of the handling of the equipment or in terms of carrying out the research, the skill development and the theoretical knowledge, the students involved in the teachers or the researchers who are going to do the research. Everything will be covered under the training. Once the research group is having projects, the training team is to be recruited, and then appropriately the team has to be recruited, and appropriately the training has to be imparted to the team. But the foremost thing is about the research. What kind of research you are going to carry out? You must be able to define the problem, and then you can carry out the research. Once you carry out the research, it will have the development achieved for the facilities. Industries or the sponsoring agencies will get benefited through the consultancies. Their problem can be solved. In terms of the training, the human resource will be generated, and this human resource can further serve the society through the knowledge transfer. So this in nutshell, once you develop a research group, will be creating impact on the society, and the institution growth is possible through it. To develop the research problem, we must understand what is research. You must set your goals. Once your goals are set, you can define the problem, and the identifying the area of common interest. There will be a lot of people in your institution working uh, in different specializations. If you are able to identify a common interest, maybe some people are working in the field of electronics, and you are working in the field of mechanical, then you can find a interconnect, and the common interest can be developed among you. Interdisciplinary activities, if you develop and create a project out of it, these projects have maximum chances of getting approved for funding. Then working on the common benefits. Once in a while, you will get benefited uh, if you start working. Once you will be getting benefited through the continuous development. Some of the research field in the additive manufacturing are listed. The applications, you might have seen various kinds of applications. Maybe the engineering application, FMCG applications, medical applications. In medical, further you can have dental, orthodontics, orthopedics. You can have surgery. Are there, you'll find the application. Even you can find the applications of additive manufacturing in the mining industries as well. You can go beneath the earth, or you can go in space, or you can have the applications found on the earth surface. So anything you think about, you can develop the applications which can be uh, achieved with the help of the additive manufacturing. You must have the glimpses of it in previous presentations. To cater to different application, to give solutions for having different applications, various materials are in fact required. Uh, each and every application cannot be satisfied with a single material. Uh, the concepts of material, I hope you might have gone through your UG programs. I will be revising them in short. But for example, the material which is going to have let's say to be subjected to the tensile load cannot be used for the compressive loading, or which is used for the compressive loading cannot be used for the tensile loading. For example, cement, it is used for the compressive loading. It is generally not used for the tensile loading. So the materials need to be developed accordingly. To have maximum strength, the reinforcement is done in the form of the steel rods reinforced in the cement and concrete mixture. That gives the combination of compressive and tensile loading effect. Similarly, you can think about the mechanical structures which are going to have the different kinds of loading. The materials which are generally used as rivet are never subjected to the shear loading. So you can think about such kind of materials which can be subjected to the shear loads and can be used as rivets. Secondly, you know that through the evolution of the mankind, man has developed different materials to cater to different applications. Now, when we consider the additive manufacturing, we have certain limitations. We have a few materials available for additive manufacturing. To make these materials suitable for additive manufacturing, a lot of research has been carried out and it is going on. And it is very interesting. Once you understand the concepts of how the material is formed using the layer by layer manufacturing, you will be able to develop a range of your own materials. It's not very tough, although it's very simple. You need to have general knowledge, simple applications. Once you develop material for the additive manufacturing, layer by layer manufacturing, parallelly you need to take into consideration how you are going to uh, join two layers together, how you are going to join within the layer, etc. Those considerations you need to take, and depending upon that, how you develop the bonding between the layers and within the layers, the technology can be developed. For the development of the technology, you need to go to the basic physics of understanding the materials. Once you have developed the basic physics, to have the control, normally we are nowadays using computers for the controlling of the movements which are uh, which are given to the normally we are going to use the computer numerical control. Now these controls are achieved through a set of instructions. So how these instructions, CNC codes, are fed to the controller, and how we are going to achieve the particular slicing. These things are considered under the computations. Uh, right from the CAD model where you begin the additive manufacturing process, how do you transfer the CAD data to the additive manufacturing machine, and then you get the part built. All these things are considered under the computations. So nowadays the automation is very much upcoming. During 1990s, in the initial phase of the additive manufacturing in 1989, once this machine was commercially introduced in the form of SLA machine, and later on various techniques were introduced. um, which were giving various techniques. After 2010, the concepts of integrating several machines, keeping several machines for exactly providing the manufacturing solutions, the concepts of completely automating the process of additive manufacturing were coming up. Then it included the concepts of IoT, Industry 4.0, integrating several machines under one roof, or integrating several machines through one controller where possible, uh, uh, in the research related to the automation. The research in additive manufacturing are identified by having such simple questions but very difficult to answer. The basic WH questions are asked. This is applicable for all the researches around the world. You name any field, additive manufacturing is no exception to it. To identify the research area, you need to ask the question what. Um, to identify its need, you can ask the question why. Where it can be applied, you can answer to this question. Then how you are going to how long it can be uh, giving the solution, or how far it will take to provide the solution. You can ask when. You need to take into consideration the patents, IPR, the publications, etc., the projects undertaken, different projects, um, the patents which were filed in 1990s. You may take the example of the fuse deposition modeling and selective laser sintering. These were filed in early 1990s, but 2010, once these patents were free, a lot of machines were made available in the market after 2010, and after that the cost of additive manufacturing has drastically reduced. So to start the research in additive manufacturing, uh, since it is no exception to the other research fields, all these things need to be taken into consideration. Let us restrict ourselves to the researches in the material field. The researches in the material field are answering several questions, or taking care of several fields, like the developing new materials for the use of additive manufacturing, completely new range of materials to be developed for the additive manufacturing, developing additives to get the desired result you are requiring in the final product, which is additively manufactured. If you add several alloying elements to the material, to the metals which you are normally using, you can get the desired result. Or if you are using certain plastic in its pure form, you can have certain additives to alter the properties, or you can develop certain composite materials and use it having better properties. Then the changing the combination of the existing materials, uh, which are available to achieve the optimized results. To have these things, you need to understand the basics under it, how the bond is established within the layer and between the two layers. And then you must understand the physical, chemical, electrical and mechanical properties for the particular application. Let us see the physical properties of the materials which are generally used. The state of the material, all the three forms of the material you can tell, that is the liquid, solid, gaseous. Since we in the additive manufacturing are dealing with the physical form, the solid state is desirable at the end when you get the final product. Now, how you arrive at this solid state? You may choose a liquid monomer to start with. You may choose a solid material and then change its state to either liquid or gaseous state, and then again change its state back to solid. But during this change, you are going to have the controlled uh, change in the state of the solid you have started with. So during this controlled change in the state, you are going to achieve the controlled deposition of the material, and in turn you are going to get the additively manufactured part. Uh, Once you are going to change the state, the phase change temperatures become important. That is one of the physical properties, either the latent heat for solidification or latent heat for liquefaction or latent heat for sublimation, or maybe the specific heats which are involved uh, in the phase changes as during uh, the pure heating. Then the heat coefficients, generally when you are heating, uh, the materials expand, some of the materials may contract. So those heat coefficients of expansion or contractions uh, are to be taken into consideration, because at the end of it you want a desired size or desired dimension of the form part. So these coefficients are one of the important properties, physical properties. Other physical properties like the density, porosity, etc. need to be considered. Some of the chemical properties, like whether the material you are going to use is a metal, non-metal, alloy, difficult to alloy, polymer, ceramics, or composite material. Many of these are already available, but for the specific application, you may require to develop a specific range of materials. For example, uh, when you take alloy, stainless steel is available as the material for additive manufacturing. You can term a specific material which is made up of titanium 64. We generally call it as TiL6. Um, the polymers which are definitely having a wide range of polymers, like epoxy, ABS, you have um, polycarbonates, you have polyurethanes, polyethylenes. Definitely a wide range of polymers is available. Nowadays, PDMS is one of the important material, which is silicon rubber, which is being researched by many researchers. In fact, ceramics are also finding applications in the biomedical field. The mechanical properties, when you try to optimize or evaluate, you must try to understand the physics behind the formation of a 3D part, that is bonding within a layer and bonding between the consecutive layers. How you have established the bonding. Uh, the van der Waals forces or the chemical forces or the intermolecular forces, which uh, with the help of which you have developed the bond, are very much governing the tensile strength, compressive strength, the shear strength, impact strength of the part you have manufactured. Of course, some of the metallurgical properties which are also governing the characteristics of the mechanical uh, properties, like the grain structure, homogeneity, or in other words, we can also define it with the help of the heterogeneity, porosity, or the density. We can also consider for the mechanical properties of the material. Why we are creating a solid part using layer by layer? uh, we are going to create to make additively form, or layer by layer we are going to build the part to get a three-dimensional shape. We are through the discussions in previous lectures, you might have come across various wire form materials, various laminates, various kinds of powder form materials, various liquid materials. Um, I will be morely focused on the powder form materials, because these are going to give you the more homogeneous characteristics of the additively manufactured parts, and you may have better control of the part uh, physical as well as mechanical characteristics. You can control very well the porosity, the grain structure using the powder form of the material. So these are having excellent control over the power properties of the material, or the part you have manufactured. So to understand parts which are created using the uh, the powder, uh, uh, the essential requirements are like the raw material should be available in the powder form. If you do not have the raw material in the powder form, you cannot manufacture with the help of these techniques, the powder techniques like SLA, sorry, SLS, uh, and 3D printing are generally used using the powder form of the material. In SLS, uh, generally you are going to use polymer powder of specific grain size and structure dimension, uh, which is fed in the uh, horizontal plane. The spread should be uniform it should not have surface cracks once you spread it uniformly over the surface. The surface cracks may be developed due to various reasons. The powder, if you are using a plastic powder, if it is having static electricity developed in the powder, uh, since the plastic will be negatively charged if it is getting rubbed against cloth or maybe some surfaces, or even the plastic surfaces. It is when you are flowing it through the container to the bin, in that incidence also it may get develop a specific amount of static electricity. In that case, it is likely that it will be forming a surface crack, and that crack will be irregularity once you use laser sinter with the help of a laser. You can have a 0.1 mm laser traveling to sinter the polymer powder. Uh, since the powder is to be melted either partially or fully or maybe any other type, it is going to get to form a bond with the other powder grains, as well as these powder grains are going to get uh, forming a bond with the previously laid layer. In the 3D printing, which was old technology provided by Z Corporations USA. This Z Corporation after 2000 was acquired by the 3D Systems. Now they have discontinued this 3D printing technique and have developed polyjet printing, PJP. But as a researcher, you must be interested in knowing this technique. Um, in this technique, the powder which was a plaster of Paris, it was sprayed uh, along the horizontal plane, and it was simple water was injected through the bubble jet printer. Mainly the Z Corporation was using the technology from HP to sprinkle water. Now, how this water has to be sprinkled, how it can be sprinkled over, uh, because water will not be able to form the bubbles. To form the bubbles, the surface tension of the water should be reduced. Once you add some kind of soap in certain proportion, like 0.1 normal to it, it will be able to reduce the surface tension of water, and then you can form a bubble using this water. And then once the bubble is formed using the HP bubble jet technology, you can sprinkle water over the plaster of Paris which you have sprayed. In fact, this plaster of Paris may have certain reagents uh, in order to in order not to allow shrink and drying of the part quickly. Drying of the part at the specific rate is desired. Uh, in the metal printing, normally we call it as selective laser melting. There are various techniques available using the powder form, uh, like DMLS, direct laser melting, or you can use lens laser engineered net shaping. You can use laser cladding as one of the process for making the parts. All these things will consider a specific size. All these techniques will consider a specific size of the powder grain, its shape, because in these processes you require, in fact, one of the technique which is a DMLS process, you do not require a specific size of the metal grain. You may either use irregular shape, uh, but its size, grain size, is specifically should be in between uh, uh, 30 micron to 100 micron. These guidelines, 30 to 100 micron, come from uh, the uh, the minimum layer thickness you want to have. Suppose you want to have zero point 0.1 layer thickness, at least there should be sufficient grains available within a single layer. Single grain cannot be used for achieving bonding between the layer. You must have at least 2 to 3 layers of stacking of the powder grain in 0.1 mm. So you can tell that in 0.1 mm you can have at least 30 to 50 microns range, which will be able to stack around 2 to 3 layers of powder grains. So this consideration you can take, or guideline you can take for having the size of the powder grain. Now, to spread this powder grain uniformly over the surface, horizontal surface, if you have irregular shape, you will not be able to spread it uniformly, because you are working at the micro level, in the form of, in the terms of microns. You cannot allow single here and there. So you must go for the spherical shape of the powder. How to manufacture a spherical shape of the particular material? Like for the plastics, you have different processes. For the metals, you have different processes. How do you control those properties to form the powder are a field of research altogether. The material selection, it is generally dependent upon various parameters. It is dependent upon various parameters in the field of additive manufacturing, uh, depending upon the application and the part requirement. You can define the functional requirement of the part, critical part, sanitary part, fire resistant, or maybe maximum service time, electrical conductivity, corrosion resistance, etc. These are the functional requirements of the geometrical requirements, like the build size, volume, part area, cross sectional area, geometrical features, slice thickness, build height, etc. Then the aesthetical considerations, like the post-process processes applied for giving a particular surface finish. Then the tolerances in which you want to work. The mechanical characteristics, like the mechanical properties, wear resistance, the material type, etc. Then the ultimately, once you are dealing a business, if you are dealing with research, the cost is the secondary parameter. If you want to go for the business, cost becomes the primary parameter. You want to work with the primarily the cost. Everything, it is converging on the cost. Some of the materials, general range of materials, like polymers, metals, ceramics, composites, biomaterials, are listed in this table. The particle sizes are given. The particle sizes for the polymers, it is ranging between 50 to 90, mostly depending upon the technology you are using. In the case of metals, it is ranging from 20 to 100 microns. If you are going for the SLM technique, particularly, you are ranging between 30 to 50 micron. Or if you want a coarse product, you can go for the higher particle size. Ceramics, of course, you cannot get a specific spherical shape. You have to restrict your ceramic size to 40 to 60 micron. Similarly, for the composites and biomaterials, the particle size in micrometers are given. The tensile properties, like the tensile strength, um, for the polymers, it is ranging from 2 to 90 MPa. For the metals, 300 to 1730. For the ceramics, 270 to 1100, like so on so forth. If you are using a powder material, these properties of the original material, you are able to achieve up to 95%, or in some of the cases even you can go up to the 100% material properties, which are otherwise not using the powder form of the material. Um, the properties are mainly observed, which are very much comparable up to 95 to 100%, are due to the homogeneity which is able to achieve in the powder form. In the wire form or the laminate form, or even in the uh, you can say adhesively bonded form, you are not able to achieve the 100% of the original material properties. In the liquid, you will be in fact able to get up to the 100% of the original material properties, but generally the material properties which are uh, of the range of 100% of the original material in the liquid material, it will be slightly less as compared to the powder form. Impact strength, the hardness, various hardnesses are given. The glass transition temperature, it is specifically observed in the polymers. Melting temperature, in the case of polymer, metals, ceramics, the composite materials, biomaterials, generally the range of these are used. Like the biomaterial, in the case of the biomaterial, 370 to 1450 degrees Celsius, it is mentioned in this, which is generally used for the additive manufacturing applications. But the higher temperature biomaterials, which are like the titanium, tantalum, niobium, are specifically researched so that if the powder material of such elements, such metals can be available, you will be able to go above the melting temperature range, which is mentioned as 1450. Generally, the density after you manufacture part with the help of the SLS or SLM techniques, you can control the density. It depends upon how closely you deposit the powder, or how is your raster scanning achieved with the help of the laser beam. The density of the part as a whole, it is the volume of the material divided by the weight divided by the volume of the material. So the overall dimensions we are going to consider, and without compromising uh, the particular strength of the material. If you are able to achieve with the expense of less volume of the material, you will be able to achieve at the low cost, as well as you are going to save a lot of material. So this is the idea behind having the density consideration. If we take a particular application, this is going to give you the idea which properties you are going to consider for development of the particular application, and then you can think about the material. For, let's say, for the knee joint, you can see the knee joint on the right hand side shown in the figure, the femoral component, the plastic spacer which is nowadays used, the tibial component which is also grafted in the lower bone. So such kind of joint, it is used to which is comprising of different materials, are used nowadays in the total knee joint replacement surgeries. It is desired that the higher values of Young's modulus of the metallic materials compared to the bone can cause the higher values of Young's modulus of the metallic materials can compared to the bone can cause the bone atrophy or poor bone remodeling. So if it is more, uh, your original bone is likely to fail earlier than the implant. So it is not as such desired, because if your original bone, which is the human bone, if it is going to fail, it's not at all desired. So lower the value which is as compared to the bone structure, it is going to be desirable. In real life, implants will be under varying, alternating or cyclic loading conditions. Uh, we are taking the application of movement. So once a person is walking, alternatively tensile and compressive loads are going to be acting. You need to take into consideration the fatigue characteristics of such a material. The implant should be having sufficient amount of strength uh, as it is prone to severe loading bearing applications in the body. These are going to have the movement, like once a person is walking, the knee joint will be having relative motion within the contacting surfaces. So the wearing of at the contacting surfaces should be taken into consideration. The foremost property is the biocompatibility of all the materials you are going to use. Even a screw which is going to attach the implant to the original bone, that also should be biocompatible, as well as all the replacements which are you are using. These are should be biologically safe, and uh, the biocompatibility, it's altogether a new area of is one of the area of the research. There are a lot of considerations in the biocompatibility. The selection of the particular heat treatment process after the post processing uh, to match the properties, the beta phase of the metals, it is desired in the alloy. So how you achieve this beta phase, the metallurgical characteristics is very important. Uh, Once you understand the properties, let's go to the consolidation mechanisms, which tell us the how the physics involved in establishing the bonds between the layer and within the layer and between the layers. Kruth ETL in 2005 have proposed several mechanisms for different meltings, different states, solid state sintering, chemically induced binding, liquid phase sintering. In that also you have partial melting, like in the case of the polymers, and full melting, that in the case of the metals. In the case of the metals, it's very difficult to have the glass transition as observed in the plastics. So partial melting, it's very rare in the case of the metals. These mechanisms affect the microstructure and the part characteristics directly. I will not go in much details of this because it will be more into the research part of it. The solid state sintering and chemically induced binding, which are establishing a chemical bond, that is the main thing in uh, uh, demonstrating the solid state sintering. The bond is achieved with the help of the volume diffusion through the materials. In liquid phase binding, the partial melting, which is generally observed in the case of the polymers or in certain metals, metal composite, in fact, FeCu, stainless steel Cu. Uh, these are forming the separate grain types bonding mechanism. Structural material is the metal as well as the ceramic, and binder material is mostly the metal, in which the binder particles are very small as compared to the structural one, thus result in better packing with the small pores and drives high capillary force for rearrangement of the particles to fully dense parts. Composite grain type binding mechanism has high grain density and surface roughness. Uh, the WC and CO bond established the tungsten carbide and cobalt bond established using such a thing. Glass filled polymer powder, which is one of the uh, very popular application in the additive manufacturing as well. In coated grain type binding mechanism, binder and structural material are coated with the structural material with the binder phase. The powder is coated with the binder, and then the binder is melted and the bond is established. In no distinct binder and the structural material type mechanism, only distinction is in between molten and non-molten areas. Uh, Full melting, like in the case of the polymers as well, you can achieve the full melting if you go beyond the glass transition temperature. In the case of metals, generally you will find that once you melt the metal, it will try to flow, and it becomes very important to um, restrict the dimensional control. The full melting binding mechanism categorized comprises of the types single component, single material powder, partial, single component, alloyed powder, or fusing powder mixture to produce fully dense part. In the full melting, you will be able to achieve the fully dense parts, but the dimensional control will be a matter of concern. As such, the energy which is required to transfer, either in the form of light energy like laser or plasma, or maybe the electron energy, or maybe the energy obtained through the electric arc, the energy to be provided, uh, it depends upon how much it is required for melting or partial melting of the component. For the partial melting, the formula you can use, like it will be containing the glass transition temperature. For the full melting, you may consider the uh, the melting temperatures. Generally, the bed temperature, it is kept at around the melting temperature plus 3 to 4 degrees for the crystalline, minus the 3 to 4 degree of the crystalline materials, and the part bed temperature which is kept for the plastic materials which show the glass transition, like the amorphous materials which will be showing the glass transition effect. Uh, you can very well derive this formula using the beam speed, which is going to transfer mainly the heat to the powder material multiplied by the uh, volume, or the weight multiplied by the heat coefficient divided by the reflectivity. You are going to incident the energy in the form of laser. If it is getting reflected, you can find the heat required with the dividing the total heat by the inverse of the reflectivity. So the density multiplied by the diameter of the beam multiplied by the height multiplied, these things are going to give you the volume. These things give you the volume. Is heat involved multiplied by these things are going to give you the volume per unit time multiplied by the heat. It is going to give you the power. When you consider uh, the material properties along the particular direction, you need to take the concept of how the powder grains are going to get bounded together. Uh, Once you scan using a laser, um, with the help of the laser, you are going to scan from one part to the other grain. You are going to move laser in this direction. So this laser is going to melt these part, or make these grains in the glass transition phase. Once these powder grains come into the glass transition, or they are going to melt, they are going to form a interface between the contacting surfaces. These initially were in the form of spheres. Now after they are going to get fused together in the glass transition phase or in the molten state. They will be forming a bond across this direction of movement, that is along the y direction. They are going to form a bond. Once you scan along the x-axis, you are going to shift the laser beam through certain distance and then scan back. So during the back movement, the laser is going to get overlap with the previously uh, uh, laid thing. So you will be able to establish a bonding getting established here, and you can have the void which is created in this space. So along this, that is along the y-axis, the bond it is getting once you uh, apply the tensile load uh, opposite to this axis. Naturally there is less uh, amount of length available for as compared to the x-axis. So here you can see that the material properties are altogether different along the x-axis and along the y-axis. Similarly, once you have laid this layer is going to get fused with the previously laid layer. So in that you can see, you can imagine that the bond is going to get established here. So that will be still less. So along the z axis, the establishment of the bond will be weak as compared to x and y. So it is desired that you have the uh, part cross-sectional area in the xy plane and minimum height of the part along the z-axis to have the maximum tensile strength of the part. Some of the machines, one of the machines which is used to make part using SLS technique, it is Formiga P100, the machine by US GmbH Germany. It is using a blade to uniformly spread powder over the horizontal surface. It is having two different chambers, the uh, process chamber and this is the removal chamber. In the process chamber, the powder is spread uniformly along the horizontal plane using this blade, which sweeps along this horizontal surface once the layer is manufactured. This is that machine when looking from front. Using this, there are very need to be considered in order to get the maximum properties of the manufactured part. If you are using a different technique like SLM, you can consider various other parameters which are related to the that particular process. For 3D printing by Z Corporation, you can imagine that the powder grains like the plaster of Paris along with certain amount of additives in it like the starch and then the water, once it is going to get filled and forming a horizontal layer. Uh, After that, once the layer is printed, over that another layer is printed. So it will be having its own process parameters. Similarly for SLS, I have shown for the example like the laser power, spot diameter, pulse duration, pulse frequency, etc. are laser based parameters which are going to govern the part characteristics you are forming. The temperature based like the part bed temperature, powder feeder temperature, the temperature uniformity you have maintained throughout the manufacturing. then the removal chamber temperature, like that. The scan speed, scan spacing, scanning pattern, etc. are laser based or the scan based parameters. Powder based parameters like the particle size distribution, how much different sizes of particle sizes are available within a particular sample, and its shape, the powder bed density, layer thickness, material properties, etc. are dependent upon the powder base. Then how much you are going to reuse the powder, etc. The specimen preparation, testing, and results are shown. As such, in 2010, ASTM F42 committee was established in order to make terminologies uniform within the research communities, within the industry, within the scientists, or the applications which are made. Uh, F42 ASTM F42 committee was established to propose the uniformity in the terminologies initially. Later on, it also proposed the testing procedures. After 2016 onwards, they have given various testing procedures for the additive manufacturing parts. The difference in testing as such, you can see the material, the solid material which is going to get formed using the additive manufacturing or SLS here in this case. You can see that it is altogether different. For all the additive manufacturing, you are going to establish bond between the layer and within the layer, and these are going to have different properties altogether from the complete solid part, which you are otherwise manufacturing with the help of casting or any other material forming technology like the forging or any other thing, rolling, extrusion, etc. So these are fully dense parts. The recommendations given for the testing of plastics, like the D638, which is for the testing of plastics by ASTM. It is using a plastic sheet, and you are going to cut a dog bone shape out of the plastic sheet. Now this plastic sheet, it is formed by casting the plastic in the form of sheet. Now when you are using any of the additive manufacturing technology, of course you can make a dog bone shape structure and then test the part, but as you are going to develop a three-dimensional part, its properties are going to get uh, uh, affected by how it is built. So a lot of researches are going on in characterizing those things. The part, it is made in the CAD model in different orientations. Then the part is manufactured using a machine. These parts are manufactured and tested on the uh, tensile testing machine. You can see the fractured part after the specimen are manufactured, are tested. So certainly the similar testing conditions are given, uh, are recommended by the F42 committee. I'm going to give you the experimentations which were done in the year 2014 for your considerations. You can have your own things developed on certain logic to optimize the strength, to test the recommendations, that to verify that the part having maximum cross-section area should be lying in XY plane. I have oriented the part in various orientation, like 0, 0, 0, it is indicating the in the X, Y and Z how much angle it is having. 0, 45, 45, 45 degrees along the y-axis, 45 degrees along the z-axis. Likewise, the part is oriented, and the Taguchi method is used to analyze the orientation. The parts were manufactured with the help of such orientations. 0, 0, 0, it is showing here at the bottom. You can see the 0, 0, 0 orientation, and then various things are shown here. Okay. Likewise, the dimensional analysis was done in order to know the true tensile properties coming on. Observations like the load, displacement, maximum stresses, maximum strengths were calculated, and the average of all the 5 were tabulated, and it was seen that around 46 uh, 46 MPa coming for the 0, 0, 0 orientation with this 32.77 as the maximum strength observed for 0, 0, 0 orientation. Likewise, the parts were plotted, the strength percentage, and it was found that at certain orientation, this orientation, it is going to give you the maximum average stress, which is very much comparable to the original stress of the nylon. In fact, polyamide, which we call as PA220, commercially available for EOS, which was used to make such parts, uh, with the standard grain size and structure and standard testing procedures recommended by ASTM B638 were used to observe these experimentations. So due to these orientation, there were as such not much variations in the average stresses. This is owing to the fact that SLS is able to get more homogeneous parts, but however, there was this observation. It is recommended that in the XY plane you have the maximum cross section area laid. The different plots for the uh, Taguchi method structures you can observe very well in order to determine the effects of the uh, the specimen microstructure. I will directly go to the defects which are generally observed in uh, the inhomogeneity, which may be the cause of the uh, desired less values obtained. Lesser values than the desired are obtained once you manufacture using the any of the technique. You have to be very cautious as a engineer once you are using additive manufacturing machine. You have to be observer while the process is going to get performed. These indicate that there is these spaces indicate that there is no powder filling in this area. So this may be the cause of the inhomogeneity observed in the part manufactured. So once you go to the root cause of this thing, you can identify over the period of time there are cracks developed in between the boundary of the container and the platen. The platen should be able to hold the powder in this. So you can have the observations while you are working with any of the machine. Defects in laser cladding. As such, these parts were made for one of my PhD student. The powder which we were developing for the biomedical application, and these powder were subjected to the laser cladding. We were not able to have the bonds established. In fact, there was a lot of warpage coming in this part. After one layer is deposited, the second layer was not getting attached. So later on, by controlling the temperature of the process chamber, we were able to make the proper deposition of the developed powder. So I hope lot of things are left for your thinking. Few things I have demonstrated, but it then depends upon your concepts and imagination, then your resources availability. There will be some constraints which you may control, which you may have no control over them, and then you have to come up with the optimum result you can. So I leave it to your judging and your thinking. Now the floor is open for question answers. Thank you. I hand over it to Yogesh, Dr. Yogesh. If any questions, you can unmute and
just give me 1 second. Let me allow them. Okay. So if you are having any query, you can ask questions.
Sarang.
Yes, sir. Sir, good morning, sir.
गुड मॉर्निंग. तो अभी तुम्हारा बायोमटेरियल का क्या हुआ? सैंपल
सैंपल सर अभी बनाया तो है, थोड़ा सा अभी फाइनल स्टेज पे है उसका. वो जो अभी मैंने दिखाया, वो लेजर क्लैडिंग किया है, उसका सॉल्यूशन तो निकाला है. वो वार्पेज हो जा रहा था और क्रैक हो रही थी उसमें, तो उसको अभी मतलब फाइनल बन जाए तो पुणे से वो रिसीव हो जाएगा.
अच्छा,
अभी कुछ दिनों में आएगा सर वो फाइनल पार्ट बन करके, तो मैं उसको टेस्टिंग के लिए भेजूंगा वहाँ.
ठीक है.
वही पार्ट था सर जो आप कह रहे हैं ना.
हाँ,
वही पार्ट था जो आखिरी स्लाइड में था.
तो ये क्या मटेरियल क्या था?
सर मटेरियल तो दरअसल कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ टाइटेनियम, टेंटलम, नायोबियम, तीनों का कॉम्बिनेशन है
इन पाउडर फॉर्म
में, और लेजर क्लैड किया हुआ है. लेजर क्लैड में
लेजर क्लैडिंग किस पे किया? ऑन व्हिच डिवाइस?
सर लेजर क्लैडिंग मशीन वो अलग ही है.
अच्छा,
हाँ हाँ.
तुम्हारे यहाँ है?
सर पाउडर एक मतलब ऑरिफिस से आती है एंड लेजर इज इंसिडेंट, एंड एट द सेम टाइम मतलब जैसे पाउडर आ रही है, फ्री फॉल हो रहा है, तो लेजर melts it and then the droplets are deposited to form the solid.
अच्छा,
तो लेजर क्लैडिंग में वैसे है ना सर, दरअसल यू कैन अचीव स्मूथ सरफेस एज वेल. जैसे सिंटरिंग में वो ये होता है कि थोड़ा बहुत स्पैटर भी इधर उधर आ जाए, क्योंकि इट इज very harsh energy you are going to incident. तो लेजर क्लैडिंग में थोड़ा सा कम होता है. ऑलरेडी जो आपका सिंटर या फिर डिपॉजिट हो चुका है, तो लेजर इज लाइकली टू मतलब उसको रीमेल्ट करके यूनिफॉर्म कर दे.
ठीक है, बढ़िया, बहुत बढ़िया.
और लेजर क्लैडिंग का ये फायदा है कि जैसे SLM में आपको स्फेरिकल साइज इसेंशियल है टू spread it uniformly along the horizontal surface. In laser cladding, it's just the melt flow index you have to test. अगर free flow हो रहा है उसका, तो you can have any shape of the powder grain. Melt flow index is the only parameter you have to test.
Okay. Just like painting, ना?
हाँ, स्प्रे पेंटिंग की तरह से.
Just like spray painting.
हाँ, मतलब स्प्रे पेंटिंग अचीव्ड इन द ग्रेविटी. ऊपर से पाउडर ग्रेन आप डाल रहे हो, पाउडर ग्रेन गेट्स melted and then it falls under gravity to have the deposition achieved.